Which sensible person in Chicago will want to vote Democrat again? So if you listen to the liberal media, it's really very wicked. See, black mothers in DC, when their kids step out, their heart beating fast, would he come home alive? Yes, the data is there. They are being killed every day.
Chicago,
not by police,
yeah.
not by wicked people from some Italian country, by their own people. Mm-hmm. The president said, listen, I will create a little discomfort for a couple of days, but I will clean up the crime. Your child won't die. Guess who went to the street to protest against the president saying, I'll protect your children from dying?
Who?
Well, of course, the same people whose children are being killed daily in DC. That alone should tell you that there is some selfish motive behind it. Who wouldn't jubilate and said, finally, please, clean the place so my son will see his 18th birthday? What justification is you to... Okay, police are in the streets of every city in America, isn't it?
They are.
Okay. We see army barracks everywhere. Okay, the National Guard are Americans who've been trained to say, protect your people. Mm-hmm. What is the fear? None whatsoever, except it's all political. They don't want him to win points. Because if he cleaned blue cities in his 4 years, he'd turn and flip those places red in 2028.
So you think that's the real concern?
That's the real concern. Which sensible person in Chicago will want to vote Democrat again?
I think they'll still vote Democrat.
No, they won't.
For whatever reason.
Don't take Americans for this thing. When they see real result, yes.
Hello and welcome back to What I Think I Know with your host, Dan Briantino. I think I know that guy is spectacular, spot on. Unfortunately, I think that lady exemplifies the reason it kind of won't work. She seemed very hesitant to even really kind of absorb what he said. And therefore I think they're going to keep going blue. Just because they ignore everything. They've ignored all the facts so far. I had a conversation the other day with a good friend of mine who, because of my long hair, profiled me to be a liberal. And he was so upset when I asked him simply, well, what Republican crimes have been committed? And his response was like, oh my gosh, we're done, that's over, we're done. Speaking about the conversation and possibly our friendship, I heard he was with some other friends and asked, as soon as he got there, he's like, is Dan here? Kind of thing. I mean, his name's Dan too. I love the guy. He's a fantastic guy, but he is going to allow something like this to potentially ruin our friendship, which is a huge bummer. I asked him and kind of repeated myself, I'm just asking a question. I don't know these things. I'm just trying to get, what do you think they've done wrong? Or what have you seen that I haven't seen? And yeah, it tumbled downhill from there. He even went so far as to say that CNN and all these news organizations are owned and run by Republicans. Sorry, but even Fox News is owned by a liberal. Anywho, terrific guy in that opening video. Zanu Project Rethink. ZANU Project Rethink is his or whatever you call it. That's where you can find him, at least on Instagram. I don't know anywhere else. I didn't look. But terrific guy. He's got lots of great videos. Lots of good thoughts to sift through there. Digging into some more fun, I've heard a lot about groypers recently. I believe it's Groypers, Groyper. I didn't know what it was. It sounded almost, like a groper kind of thing. That's kind of made me like, what the hell is that? So I asked Perplexity, my preferred AI guy. And Perplexity tells me, A grouper refers to a member of an online far-right movement often called the Groyper Army. This group is characterized by its association with white nationalists, anti-immigration, anti-Semitic, and Christian nationalist ideologies. With internet figure Nick Fuentes as a central leader or influencer, the movement distinguishes itself from the mainstream conservatives by promoting extreme, racially charged, and reactionary views and harshly criticizing establishment conservative figures and organizations as being insufficiently nationalist or insufficiently pro-white. The name Groyper originates from an internet meme as a cartoonish, reclining version of Pepe the Frog, repurposed as the mascot in 2017 to 2019. Just somewhere, okay, I guess, or those, in between those 2 years kind of thing. When they began gaining attention for disruptive activism and conservative events, or at conservative events, originally emerging from the online image board and meme culture, Groypers have advocated for things such as closed borders, opposition to feminism and LGBTQ plus rights, and a strong emphasis on ethno-nationalism, while presenting themselves as defenders of traditional values and Christian conservatism. They frequently engage in online trolling campaigns and coordinated disruptions at conservative gatherings, particularly targeting prominent right-wing figures who they view as insufficiently extreme or compromising on issues like immigration. Let me go back to a really good part of that. The Groypers have advocated for things such as closed borders, opposition to feminism, and LGBTQ rights. So they're just regular conservatives, huh? Closed borders. That used to be a liberal ideology as well, up until about halfway through Obama's reign. Opposition to feminism, yeah, because feminism's kind of ruined everything. And the feminists tend to want the trans men, men who think they're women, to be in the women's spaces. So what are we doing here? The Groypers are clearly just a regular old American group, according to AI. Yeah, leave them be. Let them take over. I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's crazy to even think that that's a inappropriate thing. Now, while I was researching that, it led me to this story here. And I just want to read this to you guys. So bear with me. I know there's only 1 or 2 viewers, so it shouldn't be too hard. But this is, I think it's like an X post. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think it's an X post. And let's just dive right in. So this, again, let me preface it by saying I was looking into what a Groyper is, and I just happened to come across this story here. And I think it about perfectly exemplifies why people are extreme right. And when I say extreme right, I've been wanting to do this on almost every episode. I just keep forgetting or things come in the way. And so I haven't even made it yet, but it's very simple. I'll make it over this next week. I'll have it in the next episode, I suppose. But everything in the world has driven people further to the left. The most radical right-wing folks are further to the left than they were 10 years ago. I myself, I am further to the left than I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I might have been for things like abortion. But I was certainly not okay with things like immigration. Now that I learned what abortion truly is, when I was a kid in high school or whatever, I thought oh, well, I don't want a kid right now, so yeah, for sure, abortion. And then one day I realized well, actually, an abortion is absolutely taking the life of a child. something that I've always thought was fascinating was scientists at one point, I don't remember when or who or whatever, but it doesn't matter, it's a factual bit of information. At the moment of conception, there's a flash of light, which I think is pretty darn special because in the beginning, God made the light, and he said it was good. So I would think that that is kind of a him saying that, well, you've conceived, and that's a good thing. I very much agree with that point. So anyway, without further ado, here's our story here. I despise the Groyper movement, but if you want to understand where Fuentes gets his purchase with young men, I will tell you how it happened by telling you about my experience at the orientation night when my son joined elementary school band. Okay. Something I forgot about this story. The grammar is horrible, so bear with me. I'm going to do my best to keep up with this. But yeah, you can't just throw commas in random places. Reread what you're about to post before you post it. That's my suggestion. Anyway, my 11-year-old son joined the elementary school band, so I went to the parents' orientation night, which was held at a local high school. As the night went on, it became obvious to me why young men rage against the larger social system. The classrooms were inundated with DEI messages and trans pride flags. On the walls, there were posters, stickers, and various decorations that all invoke the various totems of diversity. Black Lives Matter messaging, decolonization messaging, LGBTQ plus messaging, and basically every sort of race and gender social justice messaging that you can imagine was present. The advertisements for post-secondary opportunities featured social justice education prominently, including advertising a course on indigenous ways of knowing, as something grade 12 students should pursue upon graduation. Many of the teachers has "This is a safe space" sticker on their doors, and others had variations of "In this house" messaging on their doors, which is classic Democrat thing. In this house, we believe that all people are legal, whatever. The entire aesthetic which dominated the decoration of classrooms was the progressive, less leftist-coded "in this house" and "be kind" aesthetic. As soon as you walked into a classroom, there was no doubt as to the political leanings of whichever teacher occupied the classroom. The only way I can describe it is to say that progressive social justice activists have colonized the school and marked their territory. Something they're always yelling about not doing. Don't colonize and, mark your territory kind of thing. But they've done it, clearly. A woman in a mask who was in charge got up and read a number of land acknowledgements before acknowledging the contribution of indigenous people to ways of knowing. Standard leftist land acknowledgement, boilerplate. Additionally, every interaction was done with a style of HR-style professionalism, mixed with progressive leftist coded gentle parenting. When it comes to the teacher's behavior, I'm going to draw on both that night and the other times I've been at my son's school in order to explain it. To begin, the boys are treated almost as if they are defective girls. The feminine modes of interaction and socialization are treated as though they are the only legitimate modes of interaction and serve as the taken for granted way to properly interact and navigate the world. Almost all the authority figures at my son's school are women, with almost no exceptions. One day, my son found out that the school had hired a single male education assistant. And I don't mean single as in he's available. I mean single as he's the only one. And my son came home and told me in wondrous amazement that he saw a boy teacher at school. The level of wonderment and surprise he expressed was on par with what I would expect if he had walked into school and seen a triceratops walking the halls. My son often comes home from school and expresses utter frustration at the fact his preferred way of communicating, as well as the things that are aligned with his temperament, are treated as though they are somehow inferior. As he is 11 and being assessed for autism, he lacks the correct technical language to describe this, so it generally shows up as him getting in trouble for being insufficiently gentle or kind. In response to various passive-aggressive power plays and instances of bullying carried out by his more socially developed, often female peers, to say that band night was feminine-coded would be an understatement. It would be more accurate to say that feminized modes of behavior and communication were embedded in every single interaction. It was a totally alien environment for anyone who isn't well versed in navigating the social codes of progressive leftist institutional spaces. It was like the slogan, "The future is female," was taken to be a command delivered by God himself, turned into an education program. Now, I want you to imagine what it is like for an 11-year-old boy to be saturated in that environment day after day. He is an alien in his own school, who is treated essentially like a ticking time bomb who needs to be effectively managed rather than engaged with and taught. And he knows this is happening. It is hard to overstate the level of hostility towards boys that is floating around in the ambient culture of the education system. It isn't so much that there is an explicit form of anti-male bigotry, although examples of that do exist. It is more that there is an overall attitude of distaste for anything masculine and an utter indifference toward the interests, fortunes, and inner lives of young boys. The exceptions, norms, rules, and standards of behavior cater to the sensibilities of girls and women. This is the entire social system that a young boy goes through from when he is 6 years old all the way until he is graduated from university. It's an old trope on the right to say, imagine if the roles were reversed. But that would be to miss the point. I know that many on the left will say that all of this is perfectly acceptable because of historical injustices and the pursuit of social justice. What I want to point out to you is how absurd the world must appear through the eyes of an 11-year-old boy. He is basically told he has a host of social advantages, white privilege, male privilege, straight privilege, etc., that he has never experienced and will never benefit from. And this justifies the system which he is immersed in. And the worst part is, if young men point any of this out, the very people who are doing it will look them in the eye with a straight face and deny that any of this ever happened. Making matters worse, these men begin to figure out that the institutions have been used to advance a leftist political agenda, and that scapegoated their group of young white men. And when they point this out, everyone in authority calls them evil bigots. And all this happens during their formative years. Now imagine you're a young white male. You graduate from the school system, are released into the world only to find that the feminine modes of socialization pushed on you are entirely unfit for purpose. The social skills you were taught fail utterly in both the job markets young men tend towards. Construction, engineering, building, landscaping, etc., and have no purchase in the dating market, where highly agentic, masculine, wealthy men have a huge advantage over the passive, docile, nice boy. On top of that, imagine that a great deal of these job listings that you pursue make it clear that the preference will be given to a woman and diverse candidates. And that the job interview itself is fully shibboleths. I don't know what that means. I guess I got to do some Googling. Is full of coded statements. and trap questions meant to elicit responses that allow the hiring party to exclude anyone who is sufficiently versed and aligned with the priorities of the DEI woke social justice program or paradigm. On top of that, if you do get a job, you will exposed to various sensitive trainings. You will be, I'd assume, exposed to various sensitivity trainings, DEI trainings, and intersectionality workshops in which your group, straight white men, are repeatedly scapegoated as the source of all the world's pathologies. Laid at your feet, patriarchy, colonialism, racism, sexism, and a great number of other social evils for which you are taken to be complicit in, and you have a responsibility for fixing in virtue of being a white male. While all this is going on in a series of scandals, COVID, men and women's sports, trans kids, etc., reveal to you the degree to which the institutions that make up the society you live in have adopted an ideology that is actively hostile to you because you are a straight white male, and have been denying your opportunity while scapegoating you for all society's problems and treating you like you are a defective girl. Once you understand this, the real question is not why are some young men radicalizing? The question is, why are there any young men at all who have not been radicalized? None of this is to excuse any of the extremist radicals who are attempting to harness the resentment and anger of the young men for their evil purposes, which doesn't exist, truly. That's me. It doesn't exist. There are no real radical white or radical right men. The point is to get you to understand with young men, or why young men will attach themselves to any voice who is willing to stridently call for the obliteration of the social system, an ideology which led them which lied to them during their formative years and is currently doing things which rob them of opportunities for advancement and success. The institutions have totally blown their credibility with young men and have completely destroyed young men's trust in institutions. Young men view the current set of social institutions as ideologically corrupt and totally illegitimate. They view the narratives that emerge from those institutions as being expressions of nothing more than a story told to legitimize an ideology which seeks to hold them back. As such, the institutions and their narratives have absolutely no normative pulls on young Gen Z men. I'm not saying the situation is hopeless, but unless you acknowledge what I have laid out here and engage in good faith attempt to understand what school systems, or what the school systems, universities, nonprofits, HR departments, and other civic institutions have done to young men, you will never be able to gain their trust enough to lead them away from guys like Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Andrew Torba, and other pathological influences. And then there's some other pictures of like classrooms, of course. We've all seen them with LGBT whatever flags and all that. I just don't see Nick Fuentes as a radical. I don't understand that he was just a normal guy 10 years ago. He was just a normal fella. And so were all these boys. We all enjoyed doing things that young boys do. Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, I'm very glad that this fella spoke out, or lady, I suppose. I'm very glad they spoke out. It's a very important thing to talk about. It's a very important kind of subject to tackle. Unfortunately, kind of proof has showed us that no one's going to listen to that. They're going to see the, like, although I hate the Groyper movement, this is something that may interest you. And they'll go, oh, racist, fascist. It's so sad. It is very, very sad. And it's a whole communist ideology. It truly is. It is exactly how he said. They see men as defective girls. They look at the entire world through the eyes of a woman. emotional, the whole, this has been going around, the toxic empathy. Although empathy is an amazing thing, it's terrific. I think everybody should have it. There is a limit to how much you should have. You should not be overly empathetic. That does, hurt everybody. Which is exactly what we're experiencing in all of these situations here. The toxic empathy, he's just misunderstood, he feels like he's in the wrong body, and we need to feel that as well. So let's let him into the women's locker room to go, molest and flash our women and whatnot. It's disgusting. Now, I've come to believe recently that it is sort of a partnership with Islam, because a lot of the Islam folk in America are voting Democrat, because I think they know that once you go too far Democrat, you end up in communism, and once you're in communism, then it's just whoever gets control runs the place. And the Muslims in this country, they'll kill every one of us to get in charge. Here is a little spot from a Muslim telling us about that.
Okay, Mega, it's time that you learn Sharia law. Now that we Muslims are slowly taking over your country, starting with New York soon, inshallah. And then not only are we taking over your country, we're bringing in communism. So you better get used to the idea of giving up your money and share it with the poor. And just a few things you gotta know about Sharia law. No more pork, so that shit has to go. Then you're gonna have to pay some sort of tax for being non-Muslim, of course. And so it's time to learn some Arabic, and time to put your wives in burqas, because that's going to be next. So so welcome to the Islamic State of America.
Yeah, fuck you, fuck your religion. I'm gonna eat pork every day of my life from now on. I just had bacon this morning, actually. It was delicious. Delicious. Did you know that eating pork means that you are 97% less likely to marry an underage child? Very interesting. More statistics. Hamas themselves have come out and say that 58,000 of the 67,000 Palestinian deaths were combatants, which puts Israel's gonna kill KD, their combatant to innocent person, to 6.4 to 1, which is one of the best odds any war has ever seen. So clearly they're not killing innocent people or genociding or whatever. Here is a little clip of some Palestinians fleeing somewhere. I'd assume Palestine. I don't think I looked into that, where they're actually fleeing from, but they're fleeing from Hamas control is really all you need to know. Enjoy.
الوضع كله سيء يا بني، حسبي الله علشان شاطونا وقتلونا في دورنا.
ومين قتلوكوا؟
حماس.
حماس قتلوكوا؟
حماس اللي قتلتنا. حماس اللي صوابتني وقتلتنا. حماس.
حماس مسؤولة عن كل اللي بنشوفها هنا؟
كل اللي هي.
كل الدمار؟
كله هي الدمار هي.
طيب ليش ما بنسمع صوتكم؟
والله ما احنا قادرين يا خالي، والله ما احنا قادرين نتنفس.
شو؟
حسبي الله عليها حماس. ينتقم منها حماس، دمرونا، دمروا اطفالنا، دمروا بيوتنا، احنا كنا عايشين. احنا محتاجين انتوا قلتوا حكمونا. بدناش حماس. كل الشعب بكره حماس، احنا مضطهدين من حماس كنا.
طيب ليش ما بنسمع صوتكم برا؟ ليش؟
بنموت لو احنا طلعنا، لو حكينا اي كلمة بقتلونا. انتوا مش عارفين الشعب غلبان، احنا الغلابة. الشعب غلبان رح
إذا رفعتي صوتك ضد حماس شو بده يكون؟
بيقتلونا، إرهابية. حماس إرهابية. قولوا يلا معاي، حماس إرهابية. حماس إرهابية.
Yeah, so, I don't know what to tell you. Clearly, we've got an issue here, and it's not Israel. Yeah, let's dig into a little bit of, like, I don't know, I suppose how the Muslims view us. How, like, people from Hamas would view an American.
All this advancement in technology, yet they still haven't figured out that when you go to the bathroom, they're still wiping themselves with paper. All this advancement, think about how advanced they've become. They're trying to go to Mars. They're trying to take over Saturn. They're trying to do all this stuff. Their cars are trying to be self-driven. Yet when they go to do the most lowest form of human nature, the call of nature, they are still wiping themselves and cleaning themselves with paper. They're uncivilized. Do not be tricked and deceived by their technology. Do not be tricked and deceived by their philosophies and their westernizations and their ideas. At the end of the day, they are still backwards. Allah has sent us to these nations to civilize them. That's why Allah has sent us to civilize these people. Yet the media makes us look like the barbaric ones. The reason they don't want you to be successful is because they're jealous of what you have. The Christians jealous of what you have. Their nations, their religions are dying. So what they had to do, they had to change their religion. You don't believe me? We went to churches and they're now having the LGBT flags over there. A'udhu billah. Imagine your business, your religion is dying so much that the only thing that you could do is go and get some help from the LGBT. That's just the condition you've become in.
So first off, do you think he knows what Saturn is? Yes, it's a planet. Yes, it has a solid core. But just a picture of it would tell you it's a little stormy. And if you look into other bits about it, you'll see that, like, the atmosphere isn't very healthy to humans. The temperature, not quite right. We're going to take over Saturn, everybody. Most importantly, wiping. We have the technology of specialized paper for wiping. Some Western countries use water for wiping, a bidet. These people use their left hand. Do you not all recall the whole, when you go to the Middle East, you never shake somebody's left hand? Because that's the hand they use to wipe. So you're telling us our technology ain't good enough. You don't use any technology. You use your freaking, not even a leaf. You don't even use a leaf. Like if we're camping, we're out in the woods, whatever, we run out of toilet paper, we use a leaf. We damn sure aren't using our hand. Holy cow. That's just a little bit of some backwards insanity from Muslims. Gotta love them. Our next little bit is something I came across on the interwebs, of course. And I thought it interesting enough to show you guys, share with you. So this is a picture of a show, like the intro scene in whatever, when you hover over the show and it kind of starts playing. This is one of the scenes you see. There are 2 black men, a fella missing a leg, and an Asian woman in downtown Chicago. And they're all cruising around. But this user, Stuttering Craig, noticed that it's a little weird that there would be 2 black men casually walking around with an Asian woman and a man with 1 leg. He thought, that's statistically not very likely, I don't think. So we looked into it. Chicago's population at the time was about 503,000. The black population 1.3%, is about 6,500. Chinese population, a total of 172, which is 0.03%. Chinese women, about 3% of that, meaning that there were roughly 5 in the entire city. Disabled / one-legged man from the Civil War era, yeah, plausible. Maybe 0.1 to 0.2% of the population. So if you ran the math on the odds of seeing all that, an Asian woman, 2 black men, and an amputee in one random 50-person crowd downtown, it comes out to about 0.00016%, or roughly 1 in 640,000. In other words, Netflix made a scene that's about as statistically likely as spotting a UFO on your morning commute every day. But hey, at least the diversity box got checked. Oh, Lord. Yeah, at least the diversity box got checked. That's it. We checked the box, moving on. I don't care about the historical box. We'll leave that one unchecked. We don't care about that. We have a narrative to push. Oh, boy. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, what is it? Why are liberals so intent on all this stuff? What is going on in their echo chamber? And I kind of thought, like, the further away you get from a city, the better it is. Life in general is just better. You can walk outside without worrying about anybody attacking you, or worrying about a riot in your street, or any of those things. And I kind of realized this. Now, in California, LA, of course, bottom of the state. San Diego's lower than that, whatever. But we're going to take basically LA to San Francisco. Okay, so in between LA and San Francisco, you have sort of these jumps that you make. They're about 2 hours each. So you go 2 hours north of Los Angeles, and you get to like Santa Barbara kind of area, right? You go 2 hours south of San Francisco, you get to Monterey area. You go 2 hours north and south of those 2 points, and you meet at about Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo. Now, these are very different places, but some more equal to each other than the rest. LA and San Francisco are very well known worldwide at this point for being the hotbed of the lunatic, the place where liberalism strives. Now, you could throw New York in there for sure as well, which won't be New York long, but it'll come back. No, I did have a thought real quick on New York. I had a thought that, like, if we made that the one sanctuary city, everybody could, like, pile all the illegal immigrants in there and just kind of see how it goes, sort of thing. It'd crash almost instantly. There'd be lots and lots of blood on the streets. And I thought that was kind of a fun idea because, yeah, it would kind of show everybody what's really going on there. But then I thought, the history of that city, we can't let that go. We got to fight for it. Anyway, back to my little math problem here. We can clearly see a big difference in all these towns, cities, whatever you want to call them. Los Angeles, yes, the hotbed of Hollywood, liberalism, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all that sort of stuff. Not rock and roll. Sex and drugs, though, for sure. And then, of course, San Francisco, the same thing, giving out free drugs, all that. Last time I was there, first person I saw was wearing assless chaps and nothing else. I've walked around the corner several times to witness somebody taking a dump on the sidewalk or urinating or something like that. It's like 4 or 5 times I've seen that. I can't remember. It's the only city I've ever been mugged in. Or not mugged, I guess, but I was followed and whatnot all over town by these 2 guys who were trying to get me to give them stuff. Not in a please, sir, can I have some more kind of way. But, hey, man, what the fuck, who you at? You know, where you at? What you up to? You know, what do? That kind of guy. So anyway, that's LA and San Francisco. 2 hours north or south of either of those places, Monterey and Santa Barbara. Beautiful towns. If you've never been to one of those towns, you got to go just to check it out. They're unbelievable. Don't go to Monterey, actually. I take that back. Stay out of my town. It's too busy. It's too packed. There's all of San Jose and San Francisco have come in and utterly ruined the place. We're no longer allowed to have fires on the beach because some people from LA, the first kind of wave of newbies to the city was from LA, and they complained about the smoke, all these old rich people. And they complained about the smoke coming from the beaches. So the city went, sure, we'll test the air quality. We'll see what's going on. 4th of July, let's test the air quality. Oh, man, there's a lot of smoke in the air. Oh, boy. Oh, gosh. Who would think? 4th of July, a lot of smoke in the air at night? Wow. Okay, we'll retest it, just to be sure. Oh, massive fire out in Big Sur. That's a perfect time to test our air quality. Oh, too much smoke. Well, that's 2. Kill them. Get the fires out of here. So no more fires on the beach. Love it. I can only imagine the same sort of thing happened in Santa Barbara. I don't really know. I don't spend enough time down there, but I know it's a wonderful place. And of course, both of these places are slightly further away, both geographically and mentally, from the woke masses. Now, they're definitely controlled by the woke masses, but not nearly as much. It's a little bit more free in those places. And then you go 2 hours south of Monterey, 2 hours north of Santa Barbara, and you meet at San Luis Obispo County, kind of SLO, and Paso Robles. If you don't know those two places, Paso Robles is kind of the Texas of California, I'd call it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. If you were planning a wine trip, by the way, don't go to Napa. Napa's trash. There's too much money up there. They're influenced by rich tongues, not good tongues. So you won't be finding the good wine there anymore. You'll find it, however, in Paso Robles. Wonderful town. I don't live there, so you may travel there. Don't ruin it. Allow Paso Robles to be Paso Robles, please. Don't bring your own ideology there. But again, it's a wonderful town. It's one of the most kind of Republican parts of the coast, at least. We all know kind of it's a thin strip along the coast that's liberal, and then the whole rest of the state is mountain men and desert dwellers. The whole rest of the state is as red as it gets. But people forget about that because there's so many people jam-packed into these two cities. And that's just kind of an interesting thought experiment, essentially. The further you get away from the cities, the happier your life is, the more fulfilled you are, and the more Republican you vote. They kind of go hand in hand. If you're happy all the time, you're definitely a Republican. If you're sad all the time, you're definitely a brainwashed liberal. Speaking of brainwashing, this goes around from both sides all the time. Who's really brainwashed? I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a whole campaign during COVID about it was don't do your own research, just listen to the experts kind of thing. I think that's kind of brainwashing right there. They say, don't look into it yourself because you'll find the truth. Don't look into it yourself. Just listen to the guy I hired to tell you things. Yeah, just disgusting. Hate every minute of it. But what are you going to do? And our final segment here is our Hero of the Week. Our Hero of the Week this week is a wonderful fella and quite the comedian, I must say. He is a senator, and he's got a powerful last name, but he's not from that family. He is John N. Kennedy. An amazing guy. He's from Louisiana, and he just has the best way with words, I think. It is the most fun. Liberal, conservative, whatever you are, you've got to appreciate this guy because he's hilarious. Here is a little clip of him kind of going off right now. It's a recent clip about the shutdowns, and it's poignant and funny. Let her rip, John.
You know, I thought to myself, even duct tape can't fix stupid. She's not as bad as some members of the liberal media, but that's faint praise. That's like it's like being the smartest person on The View. I'm going to give Ms. Wallace the benefit of the doubt and assume that she said what she said right after her morning beer. The Democrats have accused the President Trump, of everything except abandoning his children to wolves. They daily call him a racist and a Nazi. The American people spoke. My Democratic colleagues need to just drink a big old glass of get over it and let's move on. The American people, in the American people's opinion, Senator Schumer he's a wet match in a dark cave. He polls right up there with clubbing baby seals. He's got a 30% approval rating, a 60% disapproval rating, and 10% of folks polled just didn't want to pause their video games to answer. It's not working. The American people may not read Aristotle every day, but they get it.
Is that the future of this party now?
Well, I don't think they have a future until they stand up to the loon wing of their party. We remember them from the Biden days when they had influence with President Biden. They hyperventilate if you use the wrong pronoun. They think Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head are a bunch of racists. They think children ought to be able to change genders at recess. The American people don't think that. Sometimes
it was the greatest city in the world.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to let God take care of it, because if you take care of it, you'll end up in jail. I mean, there's some things you just can't change.
Now, I will say, I think I've heard him use the clubbing baby seals line before. John, we need to think of some more or some new material. But I digress. It's fool's game anyway. He's freaking hilarious. He's got plenty of new material. If he ever leaves the Senate, I would love to see him up on a stage. He's hilarious, wonderful, and for his continually fighting for the Republican team. And, of course, that lovely comedy he's got. Senator John N. Kennedy, you've been awarded the Hero of the Week. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. And please keep doing what you're doing. We love it. And you're only helping. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope anybody actually watches this. And thank you all. Now, here to kind of close us out are some words from Charlie Kirk about sort of keeping our country what it is. Wise words spoken from a wise man. Rest in peace, and thank you, Charlie. Anyway, enjoy the clip. Thank you all for watching, or thank you, sir or ma'am, for watching, because there's only going to be one, I'm sure. But anyway, thank you all. God bless, and we'll see you next week.
What is the type of country that we want to live in? I want to live in a type of country where you don't have to lock your doors at night. A type of country where church attendance is going up. A type of country where people are going to get married and have children. A type of country where we are not going to have a Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City. There's something wrong with that, everybody. Now, this is where people say, Charlie, you can't say that. Let me repeat it for whatever stenographer for the media. There's something wrong when you have a Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City, our greatest city. There's something wrong with that. In fact, we don't talk enough about Islam. There is a red-green axis that is trying to suffocate this country. We talk a lot about the red, which is the Marxist. But we don't talk nearly enough about the Islamist. We don't talk nearly enough about the hundreds of thousands of Muslims that we have voluntarily imported into our country that build mosques, implement Sharia law. I don't know if you guys have this problem in South Carolina or not, but thankfully no. But you go to Minneapolis, you even go to Dallas, you go to New York, and it will metastasize, it will spread. You know why? Because the women of the West, they get cats. The women of Muslims, they have 8 kids. Eventually, it doesn't work very well. It's just a bunch of math. The women of the West have abortions. The women of Muslims, they have entire communities they can fill. When you import one, you get 10 years later, chain migration, all this nonsense. People say, but Charlie, don't you understand that the immigrants make our country better? Hold on a second. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. When someone is a practicing Muslim in this country, 5 times a day they are praying to another land. Imagine what that does to you. Literally, in Islam, you are pointing yourself to another nation. You're not pointing yourself to this nation. You're pointing yourself to Saudi Arabia and Mecca 5 times a day. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is to leave America and go do a Hajj into Saudi Arabia. We as Americans are being played as suckers as we import hundreds of thousands of people that do not assimilate, take our government benefits, infiltrate, spy, and metastasize. And President Donald Trump has a once-in-a-100-year opportunity to say no more, and you're all going home. We're going to take this country back and restore it once and for all. And some people will say, well, Charlie, that is hateful. That is loving to the nation. Do you know what's hateful? They're being hateful because they actually don't love America. We're simply calling out their hate, and we're meeting their hate with a nice one-way ticket back to Mogadishu. And let's talk about what the Bible says. Every time immigration comes up in the Bible, assimilation comes right alongside of it. You must learn the customs. You must learn the language. In the later book of Deuteronomy, Moses' farewell address, he says, be careful who you allow into the nation of Israel, because the foreigner can soon become your master. Boy, Zohran Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York City.